Hello all, it's James Johnson, aka Sulfur Blade, and I'm back with yet another video. I thought it would be a good idea to go through the 17 executive orders that Joe Biden has enacted since becoming our fake president. Illegitimate president. Yeah, that's I'll go with that. Since becoming our illegitimate president. So, an executive order requiring that people wear masks and keep their distance from each other on federal property. So, basically, if you're a federal employee, you're now going to have a mask mandate. And Biden can do this because he's the overall, basically like the CEO of the federal government, and all federal employees answer to him. Therefore, he can, within the bounds of the Constitution, issue such a mask mandate to the federal employees. He didn't push the issue beyond that. In fact, he actually handed it off to the governors so that they could then break the Constitution. Is essentially what he did. So he left it up to the governors to be able to enact mask mandates and encouraged them, walking all over the Constitution. Launch of the 100 Days Mask Challenge to encourage Americans to wear masks. You know what? You can take your mask challenge and shove it up your ass, you fake, illegitimate president. All right, the reversal of Trump's decision to remove us from the World Health Organization. So now we're back to giving money to an organization that answers to China and did nothing to protect this world from the Chinese virus, and in fact was very much responsible for much of the world being caught off guard because they were praising China and not doing their due diligence and actually investigating China. They let China pull the wool over their eyes because basically they're a puppet organization of China, and Trump rightly pulled us out of the World Health Organization and rightly took away the funds from the World Health Organization, and now we're back to giving this petty, useless organization American taxpayers' money. Hooray! Wonderful. An executive order that creates the position of COVID-19 Response Coordination and restores the Directorate for Global Health Security and Biodefense, a team in charge of pandemic response within the National Security Council. Whoopee. All right, calls to Congress to extend COVID-19 aid and requests to various departments to extend eviction and foreclosure moratoriums, pause payments for federal loans. No, we need to go back to business as usual in the United States. This is business as unusual. But who am I? An instrument that will allow the U.S. to rejoin the Paris Agreement on climate change within 30 days. Great. So we get to join the Paris Agreement and have American jobs, manufacturing jobs, destroyed overnight. Bye-bye, lots and lots of jobs from that. That's going to gut American manufacturing if we join the Paris Climate Agreement, because they want to hold us to a standard far more stringent than any other fucking country in the world, because we're America, where China is held to the type of stringent that third world countries are held to. Yet they've got nearly as big of a fucking economy as we have. It's bullshit. We should not be part of the Paris Climate Accords. An executive order reversing actions Trump took that Biden agency judged to have been harmful to the environment, public health, and or national interest. So basically, Trump rolled back a bunch of regulations that were hurting American manufacturing, and they had no positive upside. Their quote-unquote positive upside was for the environment. But however, we got rid of those imposed regulations on American business, and American business was able to flourish. And at the same time, our emissions went down. So now we get to impose regulations that stagnated American business. We're going to go back to imposing regulations that stagnated American business and do nothing for the quote-unquote reason they're put in place, and that's to lower emissions. Wonderful job, Joe Biden. Way to go. So again, that's going to have a detrimental effect on American workers. An executive order with the aim of embedding equity across federal policymaking and rooting out systematic racism and other barriers to opportunity from federal programs and institutions. This order will also disband the Trump administration's 1776 commission. So basically, you want to know what that is? That is the Democrats, Joe Biden, putting in place the groundworks to start shoving intersectionality down your throat. It's putting in the groundworks to start shoving reverse racism down your throat. It's not a good thing. All right, next. An executive order reversing a Trump administration order that excluded undocumented immigrants from the census. Oh, right. Where we get to count illegal immigrants for the purpose of the census so that California can have more congressmen and more electors in the Electoral College. Oh, and mind you, most of those quote-unquote illegals, they're going to be in Los Angeles, and they're going to be in San Francisco, and they're going to be in San Diego. They're not going to be in the rural countryside around the cities. No, that's not how the census is going to count them. No, these additional congressmen that California and other places like California that are going to get, because we're counting people that aren't fucking even American citizens for the purpose of representation in this country and government, they're going to be in cities. And that means that they're going to end up Democrats. This is utter stupidity. Anyone with fucking common sense would tell you that it's a really bad idea to count non-American citizens for the purposes of representation in government. If you have a fucking clue, if you have a brain cell, you understand that makes no fucking sense. Unless you're trying to rig the system. And that's what Democrats do. They're doing it right before your eyes. Right there. Democrats rigging the system. A memorandum directing officials to preserve and fortify the Deferred Actions for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA program. DACA, the Dreamers. We've heard all about DACA. In fact, Republicans for the past 4 years have attempted, with Donald Trump, have attempted to help these Dreamers, to get them a path for citizenship. And every attempt that the right side of the aisle made to try to get these people a path to citizenship, the left side of the aisle shot down. But now that the left is in power, now they're going to start pushing their unrealistic version of DACA down our throats, instead of a compromised version. They're going to shove an uncompromised version of DACA that is going to be bad for America, but good for Democrats. Because it's all about politics with them. They don't give a fucking shit about immigrants at all, other than that they boost up numbers in their constituency so that they have more representation in government. That's all fucking Democrats care about when it comes to fucking immigrants. They don't give a shit else. Immigrants are just basically a red herring issue. It's like, oh, we love the immigrants. And they point to the immigrants and say how great they are and how fucking morally just they are, because they want to save that poor woman and her baby crossing the border. Well, of course, everyone with a fucking heart in their chest wants to help that poor woman with a baby coming across the border. But sadly, that's not how the fucking world works. The world can't be bleeding hearts, because the real world has to make hard and sometimes brutal decisions that aren't going to make you feel all warm and happy inside. Because if you give a pass to one, you have to give a pass to all of them. And what does that create? That creates an immigration crisis. We know what immigration crisis looks like. We've seen it firsthand with Obama. We've seen it firsthand with Clinton. We don't need more of the immigration crises at a border. Trump was finally going the right direction with immigration. Normal Americans, we want our porous borders to be tightened. We have nothing against people who come to the country to work legally. We have nothing against people who immigrate to the country through the proper channels. We welcome them with open arms. But we can't welcome every fucking illegal immigrant that comes to our border. We just can't. But yeah, that's where we are. Back to that bullshit. Alright, an executive action repealing 2 proclamations, informally known as the Muslim ban. Oh, brother. That restrict entry into the U.S. from majority Muslim countries. No. Alright, so that just reads that just reads so wrong. Okay. Muslim ban. We didn't have a Muslim ban. We had a ban on people coming into the country from regimes that are openly hostile to the United States. There are certain areas, there are certain Muslim countries that don't exactly like the United States. I know that might come as a shock to some people out there listening, but not all Muslim countries love the United States. And not all Muslim countries were banned from entering the United States. Very specific ones were banned from entering the United States. But that's not what that line says, does it? It says, informally known as the Muslim ban that restricted entry into the U.S. from majority Muslim countries. Again, context being left out. Framing the narrative, as usual. So Biden is going to open up immigration from known hostile regimes to the United States so that it'll be more easy for terrorists to slip into our country. Because that's a great idea. Good job, Joe Biden. Way to go. An executive order revoking Trump's harsh and extreme immigration enforcement. Oh, brother. Harsh and extreme immigration enforcement. You see what they're saying there? So what that really should say is an executive order telling ICE to go back to not enforcing our immigration laws. Trump didn't have harsh and extreme immigration enforcement. Trump simply expected ICE to enforce the laws of the country that are already in place. That's not harsh and extreme. That's telling a law enforcement agency to enforce the current fucking laws. But we got a Democrat back in power, so now we're going to tell the police to stop enforcing the laws. Stupidity. Right, a proclamation that will pause the construction of border walls with Mexico and determine best how to divert those funds elsewhere. Great. Way to go, Joe. You're a fucking moron. A memorandum to extend a designation allowing Liberians who have been in the U.S. for a long time to stay? Liberians, excuse me. A memorandum to extend a designation allowing Liberians who have been in the U.S. for a long time to stay. I'll be frankly honest with you. I am not in the know on this particular issue. I don't know anything about these Liberians, if they're good or bad, or why they're in the country right now. But I'm assuming that they're people who seeked asylum in the United States to get away from a hostile regime in Liberia. And maybe their time is running out. And as far as executive orders, this one at first look is okay. I don't see a reason to go off on Joe Biden over this particular executive order. However, again, I've already said I don't know much about this issue. It's very possible if I looked into this issue, I could probably find some problems with this executive order. But at this point, I don't firsthand have any reason to call it out. So let's move on. An executive order directing the government to interpret the Civil Rights Act as prohibiting workplace discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender idea, not just race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. Great. More intersectionality. So I don't know if you're aware, but California tried to actually remove the law that said that you could not in California use sex and or race as a basis for hiring practices, that everyone needed to be treated the same. That is the law that California has in the books. It's a very good law that everyone pushed for to help end racism. Because a person is a person. A person isn't a black person. A person isn't his own white person. A person is just a fucking person. But these crazy fucking leftists, these crazy fucking Democrats have somehow gone backwards in time. And now everything is, you're a white black female and you're a black male, everything is now identity politics. But what's even worse is that these identities have a value structure. They have a ladder structure. And the more quote-unquote oppressed according to the left a group is, the more important they are on the ladder. And that's what this is. This is government putting in place a value structure of oppression for identity politics groups, so that a black person will take priority over a white person, and a Latino person will take priority over blacks are higher on the priority list. A Latino would take priority over a white person, and a female Latino would take priority over a male Latino, and a male black person would take priority over the female Latino, and the female black person would take priority over the male black person. That's the stupidity that the left believes in. It's called intersectionality, and it needs to go. It's one of the worst woke narratives that's ruining this country, that's tearing it apart. And that's what this executive order is based off of, is intersectionality. What's the next one? An executive order enacting new ethics rules for government officials? All right, ethics rules. Because the government is so ethical, it's going to dictate what is ethically correct for you to say and or do and or act and or wear. Wear that MAGA pin? You don't need your job in government anymore. You can just leave. Have wrong think? Oh, well, you can be fired. Goodbye. What's next on the list of the 17 of the dumbest executive orders ever put in place? Oh, an executive order reversing regulatory process executive orders enacted by Trump. So basically, all the deregulation Trump put in place that didn't already get revoked by which one? I think it was it's up here somewhere. Yeah, this one. Everything that didn't get revoked in this particular one, well, it goes with this one. So Joe Biden has effectively canceled all the good Donald Trump did. And now we get to see Americans lose their jobs left, right, and center. And it's not going to be pretty. So where's the Keystone Pipeline? The Keystone Pipeline falls under one of these. Biden basically, he annexed the Keystone Pipeline with Canada which is responsible for a whole shitload of jobs and is partially responsible for America's energy independence. So that is going to lead to many jobs lost, and it's also going to lead to American energy independence being lost. However, so are all of these regulations that have been put into place. So fracking in Pennsylvania, you know how Biden said he wasn't going to ban fracking in Pennsylvania? He swore up and down he wouldn't ban fracking in Pennsylvania. In fact, it was fact-checked by the bullshit propaganda people at CNN and the AP saying that Biden will not ban fracking. He's banning fracking in Pennsylvania, folks. So yeah, the nice couple of years that America was the #1 energy producer in the world, that's just not going to be the reality anymore. We're going to go back to being dependent on the Middle East for oil. Of course, you know, oil is something that's bad. And cars running on gasoline? You might think I'm being hyperbolic here, but I think it's very likely that within the next 4 years of this extreme, ludicrous stupidity that the left feels emboldened by, that your gasoline guzzling car is going to be straight up banned. So yeah, if you have a car that runs off of gas, you might want to start looking for a hybrid now, because these people are insane enough to get rid of cars that run on gas. You think I jest? I'm not jesting. They're that fucking crazy. But anyway, this has been the 17 executive orders that Joe Biden has put in place. So congratulations, Joe Biden. You signed 17 shitty executive orders that are going to ruin this country. And you all have been explained what's going to happen. And I'm sorry. I wish there was something I could do. But there was something we could have done. We could have stood up against the thievery of the election that happened, that so many of you denied because you believed the mainstream media propaganda departments when they told you there was nothing to see here, that there was no fraud. Well, congratulations. Way to buy into the propaganda. I hope you enjoy watching the United States go down the fucking toilet. Thanks. Anyway, I'm James Johnson, aka Sulfurblade. This is my content. Hopefully you're enjoying it. If so, please leave a like and subscribe. And until the next time, all, peace.